Welcome back, Mobile Mornings, FM Talk 1065, and pleasure to bring into studio here Lacey Smith with Tobias Comer Law. Time for another edition of Law 251. Lacey, thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you for having me, Dalton.
So for those who don't know, those who've been listening to the podcast for, 3 years now? 2.5? It's been a while. We're doing this podcast, and you guys have been coming on the show. Let them know who you are. If they've been over to Tobias and Comer, they know very well. But for those who are tuning in and meeting you for the first time, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, my name is Lacey Smith, and I'm a Mobile native. I went to high school here. I've been practicing law for about 16 or 17 years now. But the first part of my career, 15 years of it, was on the insurance defense side. But I joined Desi and Brian in October of 2022, and now we represent injured clients and in pursuit of damages, often from insurance companies or people that have hurt someone, and it's been super rewarding, an interesting switch in my career, but I couldn't be more grateful to be on this side of things now. Outside of that, I'm married to a lawyer. I've got 2 little boys, and baseball's getting started, so they definitely keep us busy.
And speaking of baseball, which you're going to be seeing a lot of this spring and summer,
yes,
you're going to take the oranges out there and the drinks and make sure everybody's good to go and ready for the doubleheaders. But they talk about a 5-tool player in baseball, and just being able to do a bunch of different things well out there on the field. And your previous history before going to Tobias Comer Law, you said working with insurance defense. That's got to make you pretty well-rounded going into something like this. Kind of just maybe the landscape in ways that a lot of other folks don't.
That's certainly the hope, and that's what I try to bring to the table for our clients at Tobias and Comer. But I had that practical experience of being on the other side for 15 years and handling some fairly large litigation on that side. So I like to think that I bring a different perspective that Desi and Brian don't have, because they've spent most of their careers on the plaintiff side. But yeah, it's been interesting to kind of the strategy behind certain decisions that we make. I hope I bring to the table a little bit of experience and insight as to what the other side might be thinking, and to do so in a way that's advantageous to our clients.
No, that certainly sounds like the case. Let's talk about something serious. We've got St. Patrick's Day coming up. Mm-hmm. See holidays like this on the calendar, but St. Patrick's Day is a big one for people going out and having a good time. And I know some cities do it bigger than others, but pretty much everywhere has something going on, and that includes here in Mobile and Baldwin counties. And drinking and driving is a real problem year-round, but especially on a day like St. Patrick's Day. And I know you have some stats that are just mind-blowing and for the wrong reasons.
Yes, don't drink and drive is something that we've all heard growing up, and you think it would be, a well-accepted rule, and everybody would do what they're supposed to be doing. But St. Patrick's Day is a well-known party day. I know we just moved beyond our party in Mardi Gras, but with St. Patrick's Day around the corner, we just want to bring some awareness to the fact that, drunk driving is more prevalent than you would think, and it's a source of a lot of harm. So if you consider St. Patrick's Day to the holiday period to be March 16th through the 18th, in a 3-year period of 2017 to 2021, 272 people lost their lives in drunk driving incidents during that time period.
Wow.
And in 2021 alone, there were 47 fatal drunk driving incidences in connection with St. Patrick's Day. So, year after year, the statistics show us that, people are still making the decision to drive when they're impaired, and the result is often deadly to those around them.
And we wonder how that keeps happening, how these accidents, very often deadly accidents, keep happening if everyone's preaching it from the rooftops. Don't do it. It's bad. It'll send you to jail. You might end someone's life. You might end your own life. But it keeps happening. And I imagine that's because that line is so thin between just having a drink and enjoying yourself and seeing friends and having just a few too many, and you're behind the wheel and you don't know that you are that drunk driver that could end someone's life.
Right. Drinking, everybody knows that a consequence of having too much to drink is impaired judgment. And getting behind the wheel of a car when you shouldn't be driving, that's the first bad choice in a series of several that could lead to a deadly accident. Obviously drinking also slows your reaction time. It impairs your vision. and has physical effects that could also result in accidents. And fortunately and unfortunately, impaired drivers, you hear a lot of stories about them just walking away from an accident because they're relaxed and feeling good, or they don't brace in the way that somebody who has time and can see the impact coming. An innocent person driving next to a drunk driver, those are the ones that often walk away or don't walk away with more serious injuries, brain injuries, broken bones, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I've heard some horror stories from you and Brian and Desi in the past where it seems like accidents that no one should have been able to walk away from, and it is usually the impaired driver who's walking away, not the innocent victims that often include young children. And that's just something to keep in mind if you are going out to get that drink, that you don't want to be in that situation, and it is entirely preventable. And one of the things you mentioned is just, prepping the night ahead, right? Making sure that you're good to go. You've got a ride, whether it's a friend or some other way, and just kind of plan ahead a little bit.
Yeah, sure. And I mean, it's 2024. If you don't already have these apps on your phone, just download Uber, Lyft, all these rideshare apps are a safe and effective way to get yourself out of a situation. You can always go back and get your car the next day, but you can't always undo the consequences of getting behind the wheel if you choose to do that. And
a couple things, if you are on if you're the victim in one of these accidents, how soon should you contact an attorney? Because I imagine when you guys get the call, you'd prefer to get to work right away with evidence and things of that nature, right? Sure.
Ultimately, you would have 2 years from the date of an accident to file a lawsuit if that's what you choose to do. But certainly at Tobias Comer, and most lawyers would want to get that call early on, because that's when you can identify witnesses and get statements while the facts are still fresh on everybody's minds, gather other types of physical evidence and that sort of thing. In the case of a dram shop act, for example, go get receipts from the bar they might have been at the night of the accident, that sort of thing. Just generally speaking, with lawsuits across the board, the sooner you can talk to somebody, the sooner they can get to work and doing their job and pursuing justice in your claims.
And someone listening right now, they might have a family member or a friend this has happened to, or themselves recently. It's never you got the 2-year thing there, but it's never too late to give you guys a call to see your thoughts on it, a consultation, and they can do that for free, 24/7 with Tobias Comer Law, 251-432-5001. But that number is also listed over on the website, which makes it easy, tobiascomerlaw.com, and all the great resources you have there. So contact as soon as possible, get in touch with you guys. And you really know your stuff, obviously, especially when it comes to this. You've worked so many of these kinds of cases, and just things that I would think are obscure that you guys don't, like the dram shop law. I'm sure it comes up all the time, but can you quickly explain the dram shop law and how that might be part of this for some people?
Sure. So obviously, if you are in a collision with someone who's driving under the influence, you would have a claim against that driver. But if that person was overserved at a bar or restaurant, or potentially even someone's residence, then you could bring a claim against that bar or restaurant for your damages. So what the Dram Shop Act says is that you cannot knowingly serve alcohol to a person who is visibly intoxicated. So, and that's important because when a restaurant or a bar undertakes, serving alcohol as part of their business, they need to do so responsibly. And so this is just another layer of protection, hopefully, in having, a bartender or a server say, you know what, you've had enough, let's do a water, or, see yourself out the door, hopefully into a cab or an Uber or whatnot. Mm-hmm. But the Dram Shop Act allows you to it's just another potential avenue of recovery under the right circumstances.
Well, that is good stuff to know, or in my case, good to know someone who knows that stuff. Mm-hmm. And that's why it's important for folks to know Tobias Comer Law, because you guys are easily accessible. You care a lot about the community. That's come clearly through these speakers in this video when I talk with you or Desi or Brian. So, Lacey, really appreciate you coming in today.
Thank you, Dalton.
Lacey Smith, Tobias Comer Law, and another edition of Law 251. And you can check this podcast out, just like every time we talk, for Law 251 at tobiascomerlaw.com. We also post it up on our podcast page as well at fmtalk1065.com. That does it for Mobile Mornings. Coming up next, the Jeff Poor Show right here on FM Talk 1065.